This is going to be a short video that showcases all of the updates and changes that I've made to my 3D board for Middara. If you haven't watched my original video that tells you how I initially came up with this idea and the ways that I'm using Hygrounds, go ahead and click on this video here, and that will be helpful to watch that first before you watch this video. I did make an outdoor scene, as you can see here, with these grass tiles. And the difference between these and my original tiles here, the stone indoor tiles that I used for the first couple of scenarios, is that I did cut out and enlarge so that it fills one whole square, rather than these ones here, which obviously you can see is split into 4 squares. And so I'm going to go ahead at the end of this video, if you want to see it, go ahead and take a look. I provide a brief tutorial on how to do that. It's relatively simple. Although if you're working with PrusaSlicer, it is a lot more complicated than it should, and that's why I'm providing a video. Almost any other slicer is going to be a lot simpler than working with Prusa. So I will provide a little bit of a tutorial on how to do this easily, but it isn't too hard. Also, this method means that you can use any tiles that you like from any other manufacturer, or even if you know how to create your own STL files, you can do that as well. You're just using the base, the bottom part, so that it will clip into the Hyground system, which I still really like. And again, I shrink these down to 75% of their original size. I am really excited about this. As you can see here, for my outdoor set, all I did was I printed these out actually in black PLA, although you can definitely print these out in green PLA if you want. And I did print them out on edge like this rather than flat, just because on a 3D printer, you get better resolution in this direction. And so I went ahead and did that, and I produced about 230 of these, which is how many you need for this set here, although I had a couple left over. So this is, as far as I've looked in the book, this is the largest outdoor scenario, so I made enough tiles to fill that. Also, I made these bushes as alternatives to these rocks for hindering terrain. What I did was I took a bush from Thingiverse that was for Gloomhaven. I flattened it out and stretched it out so that these models can sit on top of them without falling over. And then just to add a little bit more color, I did just dot them with red, so those can be berries or something else, or flowers, and that just distinguishes them and adds a little bit more color to the board. I also decided to not have them printed permanently on these grass tiles. Instead, I found it easier to be able to clip on these tops and then put the hindering terrain on top of that, instead of printing it out in one big piece. So that's really helpful as well. In this corner where we see these stone loas, I'm using the same walls as I've used in my indoor dungeons, and I think just the brown color offsets the green really well. And then here in the middle, the scenario calls for a tile that has a large tree stump that is carved out in the middle so you can walk into the middle. I couldn't find one on Thingiverse, and I couldn't figure out how to cut this tree stump, which is actually I'm using for another tile, and it isn't in this scenario, but I wanted you to see this. I instead opted to use walls, and these are the elven walls from Printable Scenery, and I went ahead and spliced them together in my slicer and printed them out. This is one big piece right here in the middle, and that functions pretty much the way that the tree stump would, and I think it looks really good on the board. So I went ahead with that route. Although if you guys know of a tree stump that you can walk into the middle of, go ahead and provide that in the links below, because I would love to see what options are out there. Overall, I think this enhances the game significantly, and our gaming group has been playing through. Obviously, we're at the beginning of the campaign, but we have really enjoyed using this 3D terrain and these 3D boards, and especially these slightly larger 1.5 by 1.5 inch tiles. And we just have a lot more room on the board to be able to move around, and it just ties in a lot more into the theme of the game. So I'm really happy about that. I also did create an alternative gray dungeon floor tile where, again, I enlarged the floor tile so that you don't have these lines in the middle. You don't have to do that, obviously. You can still use your original ones, but I just decided just to provide some variety and have some options on the board. that I went ahead and created a set of these gray stone tiles. Now the painting on these is relatively quickly. Again, spray painted these green and then highlighted with a lighter green, and then these stone tiles I spray painted with a dark gray and then highlighted with a light gray. So easy, I'm not even providing a tutorial on how to paint those, but relatively quick and relatively easy to do. So if you are inspired to do this, go ahead and stick around and stay tuned, and I'll show you, at least in PrusaSlicer, how to create and modify the Hyground tiles so that they end up looking like this as well. All right, so what you want to do is go to Hyground and pick up the tiles. Go ahead and look at my first video to see which ones I got. But basically, you get the square ones, and then after you grab those, go ahead and open up your files. Let's see here. And then I'm using PrusaSlicer, which is a total pain to do this. In my other slicers, for example, my flash print slicer, it's so much easier to do this. But PrusaSlicer, you have to do a lot of shenanigans because it will automatically take any sliced file and put it onto your base. It won't let it hang in the air. And so we're going to go ahead and open up the file that we need. And what I use is just any base. And in my case, I'll just use a single mud tile here like this and use this as a base. You got to shrink it down to 75% in order to make it 1.5 inches. And this is the tile that I've been printing out with my base set. But now we're going to redo the top here. And what we want to do is go ahead and set that aside, or I should have actually just copied it. Open up another one of these. And what we need to do in order to slice it, at least in PrusaSlicer, you can only slice in one axis. So we need to rotate it this way by 90 degrees. And once you do that, you can go ahead and slice the thing. So go over here to cut it. And the nice thing is it will automatically cut it right in the halfway point. You don't need to move it up and down. Make sure you're keeping both parts. Perform the cut, and just like that, you have these two pieces. So the next step is that we need to flip these the other axis because we need to split them once again. And so let's see here. That's not it. That's it right there. We want to move it 90%. And go ahead and slice that. And then we want to do the same thing to this, hit 90, and then slice that as well. Now you have these 4 pieces sliced, and we want to flip them back over. So let me see, was it this one? Yes. So I think we have to do minus 90 in order to get it, yep, to flip it that direction. So that's what we'll do for all of these. So now once these are sliced this direction, we need to grab these tops. And if I'm not mistaken, let's go ahead and resize them. I think it's 150. Is that correct? Yes, it's 150. So once you get to 150, we want to go ahead and slice the top and just basically get it close to the top part. Doesn't have to be exact, but just go ahead and perform the cut. Oh, actually we just want the tops, so you can delete the bottom half. So go ahead and repeat that with all of them. Increase 150 and then slice the object so that you're only getting the top. Go ahead and click that part, one cut. There you go. Now once you do this, there is no way to raise it off the bed and just add it to this thing. So what I do is basically grab these pieces, and you need to resave them. So this is what I'm going to do. It says export as STL. So then I will save it as a crown 1. right? And then save all of these. Now what we're going to do is copy this so that you have 4 of them. What you want to do is just right click on one of these and hit add part. And then double click on crown 1. And what it did was it added this part to this, but it's one piece. So what you have to do is you have to independently grab it over here, like so, and then you can move it over. And for some reason, and I don't know why this happens, but it shrank it back down. And so what we need to do is increase it back up. But this time it's not 150, and I don't know why. I think it's 125. So again, not sure. But because it's still level with the bed, we need to raise it up. We want to move it up the z-axis. So I will put, let's see what 10 does. Is that too high? Wait, you know what? Look, it's not 125. It needs to be like 127. Let's lock it in place again. Wait, let's try 130. Yeah, 130 looks better. And see how it's floating above? So we actually have to lower it. Let's try 5. And there we go. 5 makes it. And at this point, you can print it out like this. Now, if you want to be a little bit more exact, you could probably increase the scale to more like 135, maybe. Ooh, that looks a little too big. So let's try 133. So that's pretty much what you are looking for. And what you can do is you can select both of them like that by clicking up here, and then you can move the whole thing around, copy and paste a lot of these. And that's what you're doing is you are, in fact, you don't even need these files anymore. So let's go ahead and delete these files. And you're going to do that with the rest of these as well. And that's how you create your own unique tops in PrusaSlicer. I know it's a pain, but that's what you got to do. So there you have it. That is how I made this set, and I'm really excited about continuing on in our campaign. We're having a blast, especially with upgrading and updating all of our pieces. If you haven't seen my video for whether or not you should update to 1.1 rules, then go ahead and click here and check out that video. Please hit the like button and subscribe. Also check out my Patreon page, and you can see what our monthly giveaway is for this month, as we have a raffle giveaway with our patrons every month. So happy gaming, and we will see you next time.